The movie-going audience is going to swat down the Blue Beetle like a mosquito on a hot summer day. You're just going to go whack. That's what's going to happen to this movie. So say the early box office predictions. They are a complete and utter disaster for Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, James Gunn, and their DC Universe. These early predictions come courtesy of Box Office Pro that claimed the film is only going to make between $12 and $17 million in its opening weekend. Are you kidding me? Holy smokes. Not even I thought that it would be that low. That is like just absurdly low. I cannot believe this. This is just shockingly poor numbers coming here. And then even worse, I think, is the total domestic, 27 to 55 million. That's just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. So let's get into this here. Let's get some context. The Flash had an opening weekend of 55 million domestically. We're talking about like 4 times the amount of what, 4 or 5 times the amount of what they're predicting Blue Beetle to do. 12 times 4 is 48. 12 times 5 is 60. So you're close to almost a 5 times marker for the Flash, which like lost them millions upon millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, are you kidding me? It's gone on to gross $107.1 million. The Flash has domestically, with its time in theaters quickly coming to an end. Shazam! Fury of the Gods had a domestic opening weekend of $30.1 million. That film ended its domestic run at $57.6 million. So you're seeing even on the high end, it's close to double on the opening weekend. And then 57.6, you're kind of close on the high end there. But if you're on the low end, it's double, right? It's almost double. It's over double. Black Adam now a seemingly bright spot despite still being a financial failure. I mean, Black Adam now is a bright spot because these other films have just done so absolutely terribly after it came out. Even though it's still a financial failure, it now looks like a bright spot for the DC extended universe. It had an opening domestic weekend of $67 million and then went on to gross $168.1 million. Blue Beetle has seemingly has absolutely no chance of ever reaching those heights. So we also have to look at the return on investment, right? So we got to look at the production budget there. The Wrap reports the film has an estimated $120 million budget. So that means if you use a 2.5 times factor, the film has to at least make $300 million globally to break even. If you go to the high end of what Box Office Pro is saying, that 55 million domestic run, that means the film needs to at least bring in 245 million internationally. So if we look back at the last 3 films from DC, The Flash only took in 160.4 million internationally. Shazam! Fury of the Gods capped out at 74.5 million internationally, and Black Adam only did 223.1 million internationally. None of them are anywhere close to that 245 million. Even Black Adam is still like $20 million off of that mark. So Blue Beetle making 245 million internationally. There's absolutely, I don't think that that's going to happen given what we're seeing here from these last 3 DC films, especially the ones that are in the DC Extended Universe. And so here's why these financials matter, because you've got James Gunn out here, the architect of the so-called DC Universe. He laid out his whole plan in January of this year, at the end of January, and he's out here saying that the Blue Beetle is the first DC Universe character. He doesn't say anything about the movie, but he's saying that this character is the first DC Universe character, and whatever games you want to play, if you're saying that is the first DC Universe character, that means this movie is technically a DC Universe film, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's what you're saying. This is what he told Michael Rosenbaum. He said the first DCU character for sure is Blue Beetle, and the first full DCU movie is Superman. So I don't know what that even means. It sounds like a bunch of nonsense that James Gunn is trying to make up, basically saying, oh, Blue Beetle is going to be in the DCU. We're going to use Xolo Mariduena, the actor who plays him. He's going to be in there. But for some reason that the film isn't DCU or whatever, I don't know what you make of that. Only in James Gunn's mind, I guess. But this isn't out of the ordinary. When he announced the DCU slate, this is what he said. He said, and then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who is a marvelous part of the DCU. He's saying Blue Beetle is part of the DCU. But then he goes on and says this, the big one, the true beginning of the DCU, this is called Superman Legacy. So then he's saying Superman Legacy is the DCU, but he's saying Blue Beetle is part of the DCU. It doesn't make any sense. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're saying this is part of the DCU, then we're going to judge this as basically the first DCU film, and it looks like an utter, absolute a disaster for James Gunn. And then we've got the director, Angel Manuel Soto. After James Gunn has said all this stuff, he's saying that it is part of the DCU. He says, he told Games Radar, he said, or Total Film, he says, we are part of the universe, we are part of the world, we are part of the plans that they have been creating for the future installments of the DCU. But we are not tied to all the films from the past. Yes, our movie lives in the world where superheroes exist, but that doesn't mean that a certain event or certain alliance or certain things from the past dictate where our film is going. I think it's pretty clear when he says we are part of the universe, we are part of the world, we are part of the plans that they have been creating for the future installments of the DCU. It's very clear that this film is a DCU movie. That's what he's saying. So, and he even has teased a trilogy moving forward. He said our first movie, the way we wanted to do it, was always with the mentality that we wanted to do 2 more at least. And taking the traditional 3-act structure of a story, we wanted our first movie to practically be the first act of a saga. So he's teasing a trilogy. He thinks they're going to get a trilogy in the DC universe with this. So as for why these box office predictions are so low, let's return to Box Office Pro. First, they note what they believe are the positives of the film. They use a pejorative, a slur, saying it appeals to Latinx, I don't know, some made-up gobbledygook word that they're using to slur Hispanic people because they want to like erase genders, and the Spanish language is gendered as it should be. But anyways, they say appeal to Latinx families could be notable. I don't think so, because those families don't exist, because Latinx is a made-up word and there's no such thing as Latinx. Anyways, it says particularly with the back half of the summer and early fall seeing a relative lack of youth-friendly content hitting the big screen. They also tout the DC brand, saying it has a modest strength of its own. I don't know. I don't think it does. I don't think the DC brand has strength with moviegoers anymore. We just see, I mean, you saw it right there. Black Adam is a bright spot, even though it lost money. Shazam, terrible. The Flash only made $107 million domestically. Awful, awful numbers. Lost hundreds of millions of dollars for DC and Warner Brothers. As for the film's negatives, they note audiences have become increasingly selective about which superhero films they spend money on in theaters. And competition from mid to late summer, family-friendly holdovers like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, I don't think there's going to be competition from that. I think that film's going to bomb as well. Haunted Mansion, obviously a bomb. It's Disney. Everything Disney's putting out now is bombing. Plus action films like Meg 2 and Gran Turismo. I think Gran Turismo is going to bomb as well. I think the Meg 2 is like a horror film. Those seem to be, the budgets are low. They're going to probably will do well. Could diminish potential in the waning days of summer. So, unsurprisingly, Box Office Pro leaves out the first trailer that sees George Lopez's character describing Batman as a fascist that completely turned people off from the movie. It also had people going back and looking into what this guy was saying in the past. Lofty Pixel's not my favorite person. Actually screen capped what he did, what he said before he deleted the tweet. He tweeted this back in 2018. He says, the only thing I hope Trump has similar to Lincoln's presidency is the way it ended. Absolutely disgusting. Very clear what he thinks there. And then I didn't include it here, but I've covered it elsewhere on the site. But he also says that he believes Puerto Rico is a slave colony. The guy's like absolutely unhinged, insane, and he's including that crap in his film because he confirmed that the movie features an illegal immigration allegory. He told Movie Maker there is a history that exists before an ICE raid, a history that includes traveling miles and danger, working hard, becoming a family, creating memories, and thinking that everything is going to be okay. But all of a sudden, everything that you have fought for, everything that you have worked for, everything that you have built is now burning. I needed the depiction to be triggering because it's the experience of many. So he's literally confirming that there's an illegal immigration allegory in the film. If you've watched any of the trailers, you clearly see it. It's when these like commandos go after Reyes' family, and they're all like huddled together, trying to like cowering in fear of like the armed men attacking their house or raiding their house. I also think this allegory is going to have a racial component because Susan Sarandon, who plays Victoria Cord in the movie, so she also is promoting this with identity politics. But she also is saying that she plays the white military-industrial complex, so she's the one putting out this racial component to the film. She told Jimmy Fallon, what's fabulous about Blue Beetle is it's the first Latinx, there we go, there's that fake word again, hero that has his own movie. Even better, all of the Mexican, because his family is Mexican and all the actors are Mexican, and it's in Spanish, so it's subtitled. She then shared details about her character. She says, I'm, of course, the bad guy. I'm the white military industrial complex. So I had a fabulous time because there's nothing better than being bad. So she's putting that racial component into the character, and the trailers very clearly imply that she is the one that orders the raid on the Reyes' family. So it's the big bad white military industrial complex conducting the ice raid on the Reyes family. Sick stuff. Then we had Xolo Maridueña. He's also pushing the film via identity politics. He told Empire, the goal is to create a movie for a young me and a young Angel that said, hey man, someone who looks like you or comes from a similar background can be a superhero. He added, the second thing was to open more doors for people like us. As fun as it is to get into this superhero world where everything is dialed up to 110%, it's the characters that I've most related to. So clear identity politics there, basing it off of skin color. So I think, interestingly, Soto appears to have also... Soto does appear to have understood that the inclusion of calling Batman a fascist and then lampooning possible moviegoers was a massive error, especially taking shots at geeks and gamers, specifically Jeremy Griggs and Ryan Kinnell. I'm not sure. I still don't know how to say it. I should figure that out. He recently begged potential viewers to give the film a chance while speaking with Movie Maker. He said, we always wanted to have fun with the way Rudy talks about other superheroes. Rudy is the George Lopez character that calls Batman a fascist. He says, so to the people who got mad at it, give us a chance. Why should you? You are literally mocking them. Plus your movie looks terrible. He says, we're just trying to have fun with the characters that we love, and everybody in our movie loves Batman and Superman and Flash. Well, that's clearly not what the trailer says. You literally have a character that says that he's fascist. I don't think that they love a character when you're calling them fascist, bro. Like, that's not how it works. And I think that's a reflection of you putting that in there. And of course, we have criticisms about all of them, as we all should. But that doesn't mean that we hate Batman. We love Batman. I don't think so. I think you absolutely hate Batman. You're probably one of those people that think Batman is beating up poor people when he's stopping crime in Gotham. And then you had Xolo Maridueña also weighed in. He was like, F that. Maybe Jaime and the audience don't agree with Rudy, but you're allowed to have your opinion. That's okay. If you felt some type of way about it, that was the point. So he's like basically confirming that the entire scene was to try and trigger people. So I think if you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, it was placed there for a reason. And you know, all of the people who have their Batman shrines at home can keep them there and they don't have to worry. So I think that's a little condescending there too. But I think the biggest turnoff is that the film just looks generic. It looks like an Iron Man knockoff. And the only thing that they changed from the original 2008 Iron Man is that instead of Tony Stark, they replaced him with a Spider-Man. And that's what you're getting. And then they're trying to market it. It's Hispanic Spider-Man, and they're trying to market it with the identity politics. But this is what is happening to the DCU. The first film, or whatever, the first character's film is going to absolutely bomb and lose them millions upon millions of dollars. And James Gunn and David Zaslav only have to blame themselves, as far as I'm concerned.